Hey everyone, Razma here, back with another Set 5 item guide, this time Sparring Gloves. Quick disclaimer before we begin, the units I have listed on some of these items are not a definitive list, just an overall suggestion. There are plenty of 3-cost units that can utilize all the items in the late game, and there are 1 and 2 cost, there are very good 1 and 2 cost holders as well. I plan to do a more comp-based, like best in slot guide in a week or two once we see how the meta starts to shape up. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. So, we're starting with the double Sparring Glove item, Thieves' Gloves. They grant 15% crit chance and 15% dodge chance base, and the ability is the same as Set 4 4.5. At the start of the planning phase, the unit that has these items equip 2 temporary items. The temporary items increase in power level based on your player level. No real difference there. Now, the Shadow version of these of the Thieves' Gloves are called the Trickster's Gloves, and there is a difference. At the start of the planning phase, the wearer equips 2 temporary completed shadow items. So the main difference here is the Trickster's Gloves always guarantees 2 completed items, and both of those completed items are always the shadow variant of whatever that item is. So it's very powerful in the early game, because it guarantees you can have 2 completed items right at the start. So say you get like a 2-glove start, you know, your first, you get a 1-glove start, and your first armory has a shadow glove in it. If you make the Trickster's Glove on 2-2, you can have 2 completed items on, let's say, like a 2-star unit. Now, those items are random, so you might get some bad effects here. One of the things to watch out for with the Shadow version is you could end up with some really bad RNG and get 2 full items that have bad negative effects, such as like 2 caustic items that lower the max health of your unit, 2 items that when your unit hurts themselves every time they attack. So there are some pluses and minuses, but overall I think it's a pretty good item, especially in the early game. Viable holders for either Thieves' Glove or Trickster's Glove are pretty much just overall good units. A secondary carry, a 2-star frontliner, people who can just use a good variety of different items. You don't really normally want to put like the gloves, the Thieves' Glove or Trickster's Glove on somebody who can only utilize like one type of item. Like an Aphelios with a Trickster's Glove who can really only use AD items won't be the best. It can still work, but it's not like the best use of the item most of the time. So, going on from Thieves' Glove, we're moving over to Trap Claw. Trap Claw is a Sparring Glove plus a Giant's Belt. It grants 150 HP and 20% dodge chance. The ability is the same as Set 4 and 4.5. It blocks the first ability that hits the wearer of the Trap Claw and stuns the caster of the ability for 4 seconds. The Shadow version is called a Vengeful Trap Claw. Same stats, and the ability on this one, it does still block the first ability that hits the wearer, but then it teleports the wearer of the item, so whatever unit you have with a Trap Claw on it, to the casting location. So if a Vel'Koz hits your Trap Claw, you will teleport to the Vel'Koz. That forces both units to then target each other while dealing 25% increased damage to each other. Major differences here between the Vengeful and the regular Trap Claw: it doesn't stun the attacking spellcaster, and it does the weird teleport thing that forces them to fight each other. Honestly, I have not used this Vengeful Trap Claw, the Shadow version, myself yet. I think it's a funny idea. I think there are some very niche times where you could like possibly slap a Trap Claw on a unit who you know is about to get hit by an ability, teleport them to the other side, do something like that. But I find it's like very niche and probably not very good in practice at all. I don't think it's really practical. Now, a regular Trap Claw I still think is just a pretty good overall defensive item. Throw it on a backline carry to block, say, like a Karma ult, block a Viego ult, as I specifically wrote right here. That would be very, very powerful. Otherwise, though, I still find like a QSS or just a straight like Warmogs or something is probably better, like from a base standpoint. But Trap Claw does have very, very strong uses. Moving from Trap Claw, we're going over to the Hand of Justice, which is a Sparring Glove plus a Tear of the Goddess. The stats are 15 mana, 15 crit, 15 dodge, and the ability is a little different than it was in set 4 and 4.5. The unit gains one of two buffs. The first buff is they gain 40 AD and 40 AP. Or the second buff can be attacks and abilities heal for 40% of damage dealt. So the second buff is just like it was in set 4 and 4.5. The first buff is different. It's now just a flat 40 AD and 40 AP. It is a super flexible item still that can be used on a lot of different units. For the Shadow version, the item is called the Hand of Vengeance. The same exact stats, 15 mana, 15 crit, 15 dodge, and the Shadow version ability is at the start of combat, the wearer gains both of the bonuses that Hand of Justice normally has. So the wearer gains 40 AD, 40 AP, and the ability attacks and abilities heal for 40% damage done. Now, the caveat with this is these buffs turn off on the first takedown. So if your unit gets a takedown, which means if they get assist or a kill on a unit, the buffs turn off. The next unit they then get an assist or a kill on, the buffs turn back on, and it cycles throughout the entire fight. So the big difference is exactly what I just said. The buffs start, you get both buffs, you get no buffs. You get both buffs, you get no buffs, or you get one buff the entire fight. For like a notes here for Hand of Justice, same thing with Hand of Vengeance. Using the item to counteract a negative of, like, using this as a healing item to counteract a negative effect, such as like a sacrificial Ginsu or the sacrificial IE, you know, something that hurts your unit on every attack. It can work, but in the Hand of Justice situation, there's only a 50% chance you roll heals, and if you don't roll heals and your unit starts to kill themselves, that can be pretty rough. But overall, both of these units are an extremely both of these items are extremely flexible. But it's not really that great for like any specific unit. Like, it's not something that you're gonna say, hey, I can build a Hodge, I should definitely do this on this unit. There's probably better options now, but if you just make one early game and then you have it late game, it's never gonna be like a bad choice. Viable 4-cost item holders, literally anything. 4 and 5 cost, like, I put all of this on there because all of that is viable. As for the Hand of Vengeance though, putting it in a unit with AoE built in is very strong. Like, putting it on Aphelios, who has his automatic ult that hits 4 units, Diana, who then ults and hits multiple units, Karma, who's constantly hitting multiple units every like 3rd cast or whatever it is, Vel'Koz, like that, I feel like there's a great use of Hand of Vengeance, because then like the buff turns on and off so often that I feel like it balances itself out. Alrighty, so after Hand of Justice, we're moving over to Quicksilver. Quicksilver is a Sparring Glove and a Negatron Cloak. It grants 20 magic resist, 20 dodge chance, and the wearer is immune to crowd control for the first 10 seconds of the fight. That's the ability for the regular Quicksilver. The Shadow version of the Quicksilver is the Caustic Quicksilver, which has the same exact stats, but the difference in the ability is the wearer is permanently immune to crowd control, meaning they cannot be CC'd at all ever in any fight. The wearer loses 20% of their max HP though, so as soon as that item's on them, if they have 1,000 life, they now only have 800 max life. There's no getting that life back. Once that item's on them, they lose that 20% max health, and that's it. The major difference, obviously, the permanent CC and the max health. In a lot of cases, that is very worth it. So if we just go over to like regular Quicksilver, it's the same thing. It's just a fantastic, you know, defensive item for literally any carry. The Caustic Quicksilver, I feel like, as I wrote right here in all caps, Jax, Draven, Aphelios. If you put the Caustic Quicksilver and like a Bloodthirster or a Risk Thirster on one of these items, they can't be CC locked to death. You have to straight up out damage their healing, which I feel like is a very, very like strong way to play them. So like Jax, Draven, Aphelios, all these units who just have really strong damage base. I think especially on like Jax, who has technically infinite scaling throughout a fight, Longer he stays alive, the stronger he gets. If you just throw a Bloodthirster or a Risk Thirster on him, he's always going to be life-stealing, and it's extremely hard to kill him with that type of item setup. And I very much think the Shadow version of the QSS, in most cases, is going to be the superior version of the item. The 20% max life difference does kind of hurt, especially on a carry like Jax, who's a melee carry. So that is something to just pay attention to as well. Alright, moving over to Infinity Edge, which is Sparring Glove's BF Sword. Together, they make the Infinity Edge. The stats is 10 AD and 75% crit chance, which means with an Infinity Edge, you gain 100% crit chance. Every auto attack you do will always crit. The extra ability in IE is every percentage of crit chance above 100% becomes 1% extra crit damage. So if you build multiple crit items on the unit, it's still not wasted. The Sacrificial IE, which is the Shadow version of the item, same stats. The extra thing that the ability gets is the Sacrificial IE just automatically gives 30% bonus crit damage. So your attacks are always critting, and they gain 30% extra crit damage right there. Pretty good. When the negative about the item is when the unit crits, which is every attack, the unit deals 3% of their max health to themselves as true damage. I mean, armor and magic resistance can't negate any of it. It's always 3% of their max health. I think it's still a very, very good item if you can pair it with a Bloodthirster or Risk Thirster, Gunblade, Jeweled Gauntlet, if you're doing like the IE Jeweled Gauntlet combo, to mitigate the self-damage portion. If you can do that, I think Sacrificial IE is a very, very strong item for any AD carry, or an AP carry, as long as you're pairing it with a Jeweled Gauntlet Gunblade, then that's kind of perfect items. So at that point, I'm a little like, well, only if you can get it perfect. The regular IE, throw it on any AD carry, throw it on any AP carry with a Jeweled Gauntlet. It's only good on an AP carry if you can pair it with the Jeweled Gauntlet. I think the crit is going to be pretty useful because most of the time people aren't building a regular Bramble Vest right now, which negates the crit damage. People are building the Refracted Bramble Vest, I believe is how you actually call it, which is the Shadow version, and I'll explain that in another item, but it doesn't have the reduced critical damage that a Bramble Vest normally has. So if they don't have like the crit negation, I think this is a very strong item. You'll have to watch what people are building to see if, hey, you know, I should probably build Infinity Edge for my AD carry, or, you know, maybe straight AD, maybe Armor Pen might be better. Going on to the next item, which is the Jeweled Gauntlet. We have Sparring Gloves and Needlessly Large Rod. Make a Jeweled Gauntlet. 10% AP, 20% crit chance are the stats, and the ability is the holder's magic and true damage from their ability. So only from their ability. So like a Morello or something, that doesn't work, can critically strike. The holder gains 40% critical strike damage. So this allows anyone's ability, a damaging ability, to crit. The Shadow version is called a Sacrificial Gauntlet, and it does the same exact thing. I don't know why I put spell power right there, sorry. Does the same exact thing. It also gives 20% critical strike chance. So with the Shadow version of the item, you really don't need an Infinity Edge to make it so your attacks are your spells have a high chance to crit. The downfall of the item is the holder deals 15% of their max HP to themselves as true damage on every cast. For a unit like Vel'Koz, who normally only casts once, maybe twice in a fight, it's not that bad. But for like Karma will kill herself with this item if you do not put a Gunblade with it. The item, again, any AP carry can use it. Diana, Karma, Vel'Koz, any AP carry can use this item, and it will work pretty well. Going on to another physical damage item, Last Whisper, which is the Sparring Glove plus a recurve bow. The Last Whisper has 10 attack speed and 20 crit chance built in, and the ability is the same as set 4. When the wearer crits with the target's armor is reduced by 70% for 5 seconds. Same as it was. The Shadow version is a Final Whisper, same stats. The ability is weird. When the wearer crits, the target's armor and magic resist are reduced by 50% for 5 seconds. The wearer, so the unit you have using this item, armor and magic resist are also permanently reduced by 25%. So the differences here is it has less attack damage, less armor shred, adds MR shred, but it also reduces the defenses of the wearer. Overall, I don't think I would ever use Final Whisper. Static Shiv has more MR shred. Last Whisper has more base Last Whisper has more armor shred, and I don't really feel like there's ever a time where I would want this item for a specific unit to be shredding both types. I don't really feel like there's ever a time I'd want that, especially because the shred is single target, unless you have a unit who can crit multiple people at once. I feel like Final Whisper is just a bad item right now. I probably wouldn't ever do it. For Last Whisper though, the non-Shadow version, it still works great with Infinity Edge, guaranteeing the 100% crit chance, guaranteeing the armor shred, putting it on an 80 carry, i.e. Last Whisper combo. It's just great still. It's great. Aphelios, Draven, Jax. Although I really wouldn't do it on Jax. I feel like Jax needs like more specific defensive type of itemization. But again, we'll get into that later. I'm just saying it's viable right now. It's probably not great, but it's viable. And for now, the last glove item is Shroud of Stillness. Sparring Gloves plus Chain Vest makes a Shroud. 20 armor, 20 dodge are the stats. And the ability is the same as it was in 4 and 4.5. The wearer shoots a beam at the start of combat and increases the mana cost of the enemy's first spell cast by 35% max mana. Same as it was. Good on any unit that you can try to move around easily to snipe their clump, whatever you need to get the higher mana cost on. The Dark Shroud of Stillness is the Shadow version. Same stats. Ability is different. At combat start, the wearer shoots a beam both straight ahead, so towards the enemies, and backwards, which would be towards your side of the board. And that beam both beams increase the mana cost of all units hit, so allies and enemies, by 65% max mana. So I think that the Shadow version, it has a massive increase on the max mana. It does a 30% increase over the base version of the item. But the drawbacks of hitting your own team and getting a second beam that shoots towards your own team is extremely high. I feel like this item has huge potential to be extremely strong if you are positioning God and you can position it into their clump and hitting minimal amounts of your units. But you have to be perfect at that. I feel like that's extremely hard to utilize properly, and you have to be really, really good at that. The units you'd want to put it on are the same thing. Anyone who can move freely to snipe people. So that sums up all the glove items here. I hope you guys found this video helpful, and if you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and come see me live on Twitch. I stream Monday to Saturday, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I explain all my plays, I answer all questions, I do educational streaming. Hope to see you guys there. Thank everyone for watching, and have a great night.